Joyce is Lynn Sweet, Washington Bureau Chief for the Chicago Sun-Times. Lynn, and listening to him, everybody seemed to get a shout-out. Sean Hannity got one, Bill O'Reilly, Time Magazine, your newspaper, the Sun-Times, the Chicago Tribune, which has a little problem today. But anyway, CNN, ABC, Fox News, and it says media tried to use him as a weapon of mass destruction. I didn't hear the part where he talked about how he spews hate, which is the reason all those news organizations went after him. Did I just miss that part?
No, you didn't. You know, he talked about the gates of hell as if that's a home delivery address, Greta, and it's not. It's a place where journalists do their jobs and report on what's news, and the associates of anyone running for president, and what they say is news. He went on a three-sermon, I guess, vendetta yesterday at Trinity. And if he did not think that would whip up attention again on him instead of on President-elect Barack Obama, who's in Chicago getting ready to be president, if he didn't think that would happen, then I don't know what he thought he might have absorbed or learned in this time.
I think he loves this. I mean, he's the one who said GD America and said all the horrible things about people. I mean, he's so full of hate, and now he's playing the big victim. Look, oh, woe is me, this rotten media, because they don't like my hate. They don't like the fact that I'm just plain out nasty, trying to stir up every single person I can. And so I'm the big victim, these mean old news organizations.
And for a lot of, he made no distinction between people who were just reporting on his controversy, the people who did investigations, and also he was very happy to take an interview with PBS when he sat down with Bill Moyers to try and get his point across. He was happy to have live coverage of his NAACP speech in Detroit when it was just casting him in a favorable light. And he was very happy to go to the National Press Club and have a press conference.
And and the thing is that, it wasn't the media who hid him in the basement and tried to push him under. It was the media trying to find out, like, why is this guy hidden in the basement? So then everyone started looking for the tapes, and then these are his words that have come back to haunt him. But let me ask you, why was he back at his church preaching on Sunday?
Well, it was the 47th anniversary of Trinity Church. The pastor who replaced him had a long-standing other obligation to go to, and so Reverend Wright was called in to substitute preach, which made sense. I mean, this is a church that he basically made into what it is today, and he gave 3 sermons where he gave a version of what you heard at each of them. And by the way, it was live streamed on internet, so even the reporters weren't necessarily allowed. And clearly he had to know that there'd be videotape available of what he did, of what he said. So I think by now he or people around him should know how this would play out, that he would say something controversial, and guess what? He talked about.
Well, when you insulted Elizabeth Hasselbeck of The View, calling her a dizzy broad or a dumb broad, is there any way to see how the audience reacted to that, whether the audience was with him or not, or thought that was a great thing to be, jumping up and saying like Reverend Wright did in a church?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there. I wonder if people really knew explicitly what he was talking about, because he didn't mention her by name. But again, that's the kind of attack that is aimed more at the media, who I think he probably had an idea would be watching sermons like this pretty carefully, more than maybe, I think he might have been playing to 2 audiences here, Greta.
Well, he gave all this free promo to The View. Sean Hannity got so much free promo out of this. I'm just jealous that Sean gets all that free promo. It costs a lot of money when you put it like in newspaper stuff, but Sean got the free stuff, and so did Bill O'Reilly. And so did your newspaper. Anyway, Lynn, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Greta.
Now for tonight's live vote. You probably have your computer on right now, so go to GretaWire.com and answer this question. Do you agree with Elizabeth Hasselbeck that Reverend Wright's comments from the pulpit on Sunday were sexist? Yes or no? We're going to read your results at the end of the hour. And it's not just Reverend Wright. Another controversial associate from President-elect Obama's past is speaking out about the presidential election. Bill Ayers, co-founder of the Weather Underground, writes an op-ed piece in the New York Times. Ayers writes this, in part, about the media's portrayal of him. Now that the election is over, I want to say as plainly as I can that the character invented to serve this drama wasn't me, not even close. Here are the facts. I never killed or injured anyone. I did join the civil rights movement in the mid-1960s and later resisted the draft and was arrested in nonviolent demonstrations. I became a full-time anti-war organizer for Students for a Democratic Society. In 1970, I co-founded the Weather Underground, an organization that was created after an accidental explosion that claimed the life of 3 of our comrades in Greenwich Village. The Weather Underground went on to take responsibility for placing several small bombs in empty offices. The ones at the Pentagon and the United States Capitol were the most notorious, as an illegal and unpopular war consumed the nation. Joining us live is Abdon Palish, political reporter for the Chicago Sun-Times. What has driven Bill Ayers now out in the public, almost coincidentally, with Reverend Wright this weekend?
Greetings, a fellow guardian of the gates of hell. There was a little bit of a difference between Reverend Wright and Bill Ayers, in that Bill Ayers did sort of stay in the attic through the campaign and didn't grant any interviews or say the word. While Reverend Wright was out during the tour, much to the chagrin of the Obama campaign, bringing some bad press on the campaign. Ayers refused all interviews until after the campaign. Now he's out on his Explain Himself tour, where he's doing pieces like this piece that he wrote for the New York Times over the weekend, where he tries to, his argument is that he never put human lives at risk. It was property damage. It was vandalism.
Here's the thing that jumps out when you read the article, the op-ed. He says the responsibility for a small bomb. I mean, like when you put a bomb someplace, I mean, it's his characterization. It's a small bomb. Look, I don't care if it's small, medium, or large. A bomb is a bomb.
There's always risk. And people were killed by the weathermen and the Weather Underground. It's interesting where he says that he came in after the accidental bombing in Greenwich Village killed 3 of their comrades. He was a member of the Weathermen. It was after this bombing that he co-founded the Weather Underground, because they had to go underground after that. And these other deaths that have been mentioned, policemen and a guard that were killed in an attempted robbery, those happened after he wasn't involved. So he can make the argument that he was not directly involved in any injuries to people, that his all was just vandalism and radical activism, not terrorism.
Well, he also goes on his op-ed piece, which stand out to me. He actually describes Reverend Wright, another person from Chicago we just spoke about, as a preacher with a, quote, fiery style. For some reason, calling it fiery style when he spews hate. I don't know why. Fiery style are not the words that jump to mind when I think of Reverend Wright. It almost reminds me of Father Flagger, who made the most insulting and vicious attack on Senator Clinton, soon-to-be Secretary of State. I mean, it's almost like they apologize for each other, or everything's okay with them.
Well, they're all sort of fellow symbols made. They're all attacked by what they perceive as hostile media like Fox News or even the Sun-Times or the Tribune, that are doing stories that don't always reflect favorably on them. When we print the words they have that are full of resentment, you can call it hate, you can call it vitriol, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't always reflect favorably, so they find themselves fellow travelers here as controversial figures used to bludgeon Barack Obama during his campaign by the other side. And you know what the interesting thing about it, though, is that these aren't words we're misstating what they're saying. We have them on tape. We have Flagger, we have Wright on tape, and Bill Ayers writes his own op-ed using the language small bomb. It's not like we're making this stuff up. They're handing it to us. Yes, indeed. I suppose I could argue their side here that you can take with Reverend Wright. Obviously, you pull the most incendiary quotes that he's ever had. After 9/11, saying, "God bless America, no goddamn America," where he says he's criticizing U.S. foreign policy, but it sure sounds pretty vitriolic. Is it resentment? Is it hate? But you pull it all together, and it sure as heck caught the attention of a whole lot of Americans who may have made their decision of whether or not to support their friend or their associate, Barack Obama, based on what they said.
Abdon, thank you very much. Hope you come back.
You bet, Greta.